All right, bear with me. I had to reset up a lot of stuff, so I'm going to check my audio on my phone. So give it a second. Here I go. Boom, perfect. Okay, I love it. I love it. I just got off the phone with my best friend from way back when. Don't worry, I'll be on camera very soon. Just letting everybody know he has given me the green light to join the live stream. He just wants to be a little bit more prepared. And, hey, we're all old fogies now, guys. Well, a lot of us, most of us, the people that I grew up with. So he's not really prepared per se to jump on because, oh my God, I look a mess. I look a complete mess because I just literally called him like, dude, do you want to go on live now? Like right now, I'm going to talk about this, that, and the other. So I got a few things. I got a few things I'm going to talk about here. First off, I love bicycling. Have I talked about that enough? If perchance anybody out there in the world is feeling like they're a little depressed, physical activity. Okay, there's a reason people tell everybody healthy body, healthy mind. Not that I'm all there, but I'm going to get there. So I'm gonna dig in. I got stuff that's awaiting. Let's see. I got a blast from the past. I got something. I got this clip, and I really wanted to wait this one out. I really wanted to see a build up here, but screw it. I have no patience. I depend on the rewatch crew. So big shout out, Base Girl. I know you're one of them, Michelle B. Anyway, I'm not remembering at this moment. Do forgive. I want to share this right here. I paused it here on purpose because to me, this might be, it's certainly to me a foreshadowing, okay? I've tried to maintain that I am not like a Trump worshiping individual that like he's a demigod. Trump is the savior. Trump is the only way. I don't believe that. I do, however, believe that he's the only viable common sense option. Yes, I know I'm starting political. Remember the name of the channel. This interview, done on one of the most disgusting radio shows that is actually played here in Florida, The Breakfast Club, where Morgan impresses me just a smidgen. This is a throwback for some of y'all like Keep the Peels, Mutated, Illustrations. This to me is just, it's in plain sight. If the Democrats would simply listen to people like Piers Morgan, who is not even a Trump fan, speak the facts, maybe they could come up with something better. So, okay, I shouldn't be doing it. I'm going to check. Yes, look, the bike is my lifesaver. Good to have you. Welcome. You're always welcome. I'm going to just get right into it with Mr. Pierce Morgan. And because of the mic, I got to put the speaker up, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. Check it.
Straight. Examine what he's saying, examine what he's doing. Often what he says and what he does are two different things, right? But don't over exaggerate, don't over demonize him, he said. Don't go around.
Hold on. Rob, I did submit the correction because of your request and or statement. Since you are so diligently chronicling everything, I want to make sure that I supply everything possible. I adore this connection. Now back to Pierce Morgan.
And calling him the new Hitler when we know Hitler killed 12 million people. So I thought that was a really smart take then. And I think it's a.
He was just talking about, and I spared y'all, great advice Kid Rock gave to him at a Knicks game after Trump had won. And basically, he said, if they just really stop over demonizing him and exaggerating things, it wouldn't be this crazy.
A really good bit of advice now for the Democrats, which is if you continue to over demonize Trump, all these legal cases against him and so on, it just allows him to play the martyr, the victim. It fuels his popularity. Even Republicans who don't like Trump are rallying behind him because they think he's part of a Democrat led liberal media
I
witch hunt.
despise
And if you
Charlemagne.
allow him to play that card, he's going to win. So if
I
you're a
think
Democrat,
Charlemagne is
this
a
is a bad
racist, by
strategy.
the
But
way.
you have to hold people accountable, though. Nobody's above the law.
No question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you have to hold both sides accountable, right?
Duh.
And Trump needs to be held accountable. But you cannot deny that what's happened in Iowa, I thought was fascinating. He won across the board, right?
Eh.
I know, but if it had been a Democrat with those numbers, trust me, all the
I
people
heard that.
saying
Like
yeah would have said
it's
very
a
different things.
typical thing.
But I was
only-
watching Morning
that
Joe yesterday, and
Trump
he
do.
said
They just
otherwise
go,
he had a different
when
perspective,
you
which I
say
didn't
Trump
think about.
won
He was
something.
like 50% of Republicans also voted against Trump,
Of
which doesn't,
course.
which makes it
So he's
it
trying
doesn't
to
make it a
belittle
slam
it.
dunk for him in
No,
the general
but
election.
I love Morning Joe, and I think Joe Scarborough's brilliant, by the way. He's one of my favorite people to watch on television over here. But would he have said the same thing if Joe Biden got those numbers? Right? And the
That's
truth is,
interesting.
no, because of course they were tremendous.
Think about that
numbers.
for a second,
Well, we'll
okay?
never know because the
Honestly
Democrats
and
don't win
truly,
Alabama.
if Biden won Iowa or any state for that matter, I mean, it's not a primary, but I'm just saying hypothetically, if Biden won anywhere with a landslide, the DNC, the Democrats, the mainstream media, all of them would be going crazy. They'd be shitting their pants. They'd be going wild. Oh my God! Like it'd be like, how do I put this? It'd be comparable to Tupac being resurrected and everybody that's a fan of him like worshiping him to some extent, right? Because in my mind, the mainstream establishment, the DNC, the Democrats, the liberals, apparently, since they can't find anybody better to their detriment, they really, really want Biden to win. Is that the case? I don't know, because I cannot stand the guy. He needs to be impeached and just, brushed away. I hear Gavin Newsom is a little more polished. I don't know jack about him. Oh, and I learned Vivek is thrown in support for Trump. So what are those of you that were so insistent that Vivek was a plant of some kind have to say about that? I am curious. I guess you could double down and be like, well, Vivek is now gonna, implant himself in Trump's party and he's going to screw it all up from the inside. I never saw that in Vivek. I'd like to think I can be some form of judge of somebody's character, and I saw an honest man. Apparently many of you did not, but okay, I digress.
Right.
Which is also not democracy.
But the truth is, Trump winning by 30 points over his nearest rival.
Mhm.
Trump having the biggest win of any Republican in an Iowa caucus ever. Right? These are undeniable numbers. And if
Charlemagne
Democrats
is
want to look
very
at these numbers
uncomfortable.
and pretend they're not what they are once again deluding themselves about Trump.
This
And they will
British
be
man knows
sleepwalking,
so much more about our
which sadly,
Constitution.
and I know you've been quite critical of Joe Biden about his just general lack of energy, general lack of fire. If you look at Trump, he's only 3 years younger than Biden. He looks 20 years younger than Biden. Remember, Trump's never had a drink, never had a cigarette, never had a drug.
It's true.
I've had long conversations with him about his brother who died of alcoholism in his 40s and made him swear off all that stuff. Right? He has an unusual health for a guy who doesn't look like an athlete. He's pretty fit and he's got a lot of energy. He can get up there. He can rally crowds. He's a very, very effective performer as a politician.
That's what I feel like the people that are pushing so hard to demonize Trump regarding his age and how he's not that much younger than Biden, they're forgetting just that. I mean, I'm not saying by any means Trump is the smartest or sharpest tool in the shed, but if we put Biden and Trump up together on the same equal footing and look at who accomplished what, we know who has the superior majority of actual accomplishments, of literal actions. Biden has a shitstorm. I can't wait till Piers Morgan schools Charlemagne on Obama, by the way. Remember, I used to be an avid supporter, and then, it was that I drank the Kool-Aid, and then I got my education.
Regardless of what you think of his policies. And I also think he's shown qualities which many Americans admire, not least resilience. This comeback he's making, nobody thought he could do this. After the stolen election bullshit, after the January 6th riots, all that stuff, after the 91 criminal charges, did anyone really think we'd be in a position where Trump had a landslide win in Iowa and is now in most polls I'm looking at likely to beat Biden if he does end up as candidate? I mean, it's an incredible comeback. Whatever you think of it.
Well, it's something we say all the time, right? We know that America systemically, structurally is a racist country. And I think things like that prove it. And I wanted to ask you about
that. Is the biggest cop out and of course, like, I didn't expect anything less from Charlemagne with that pompous name, Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the freaking loser. I don't have any real great quips to name him anything else. He's a loser, and that was the most typical way to segue out of that. Yep, Trump is winning because of systemic racism. That's that victimization. See, Piers Morgan was just talking about resilience and how America respects people with resilience. The victim playing. America is sick and tired of that shit. Are we not?
In Trump 2016, after you win, I can understand the case for optimism, right? Nobody wants to see this country fall, but it's 2024 now. Based on everything we've seen Trump do, all of the things you just, said, the attempted coup of the country, the 91 criminal charges, you still think he should be president?
Well, it's not a question of whether I think he should be. It's whether I think he might be.
Okay.
I don't, as a non-American citizen, it's not for me to say whether Trump should be your president. It's down to Americans, right? What I do know is, you remember that last time, after 4 years of Trump, nearly 10 million more Americans voted for him second time round than first. And it's the biggest vote for both sides. Now, Biden got a huge vote, the biggest ever. But don't forget, Trump got 10 million more than first time, right? So he is hugely popular with a constituent of American people, with many tens of millions of American people. And the enthusiasm levels for him with his own base are massively higher than they are for Joe Biden.
I agree.
Not underestimate that.
If they insist on allowing Biden to progress as their nominee, are going to hand Trump the best chance he has of being reelected. They would say the opposite. They would say, well, we beat him last time. Joe Biden beat him last time because it was the anti-Trump vote.
Not just the anti-Trump vote. It was like some of the most tragic situations had happened. I mean, you had COVID, you had George Floyd, people were in the streets protesting. Like, it was a series of unfortunate circumstances, I think, that helped Joe Biden.
Listen, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I think Trump would have won that last election very comfortably.
Well, what do you think about people now who are very critical of Joe Biden, which is probably going to influence people not to vote for Joe Biden, which is pretty much as far as all the Democrats have. So it's like, even with Charlemagne, they're very critical of him talking bad about Joe Biden and saying that
you're right.
It might push people to sit on the couch instead of go out and vote.
Well, I know you endorsed them both last time, right? Biden and Kamala Harris.
I actually endorsed Harris.
Right.
I couldn't endorse Biden. I endorsed.
So what do you think about
Harris.
a lot of people that are very critical of Joe Biden, but kind of that's all we have?
What is the
okay,
all right? He just made the argument that pushed me to be, the Bernie Sanders supporter I used to be a few years ago, and the same kind of shit that pushed me to be a Trump supporter a couple of years ago, which is, this is what we got, lesser of two evils, got to vote for the party. I never can abide by that. It's never felt right. And that's just another weak-ass, typical, predictable tactic from the other host of this really shitty show.
Affairs for the Democrats, and it's sleepwalking into potential defeat, potentially to Donald Trump. I think Trump is 95% certain to be the Republican nominee. And I think if you have a young, dynamic candidate on the Democrat side, then you can draw a real difference now between you and Trump. If you go for someone like Gavin Newsom, like the governor of California, all right, he's not universally beloved for a lot of his policy stuff. But I watched him go on Sean Hannity's show on Fox News for the end. Really interesting. The fact that he did it shows he's got balls, right? The fact that they had a pretty courteous debate, it was very interesting. He's slick. He's a good operator. He's been governor of one of the biggest states in the country. You look at that and you think, why wouldn't you want to parachute someone like him in to take on Trump with more energy?
Going to get to the point where he totally schools
more of maybe
entire studio.
Choose a path for the country you think will resonate with enough people to beat Trump. I just think Biden, sadly, I don't know him personally. I had an amazing conversation with him on the phone when his son Bo died, because Bo used to be on my CNN show a lot. And I had no doubt from that conversation. He just rang me to thank me for a column I'd written about his son. And we had a very moving conversation about loss and grief and all that kind of thing. And there's no doubt he has incredible empathy, Joe Biden. But if you want to know the problem with Joe Biden, go back and look at YouTube clips of him as a senator when he was in his 40s. There's one in particular where he's railing against apartheid South Africa. You're watching a firebrand guy. Absolute firebrand.
Go back to 1987, where he lies to the press before Google.
He's not that guy anymore.
Because he's 80.
Hold on.
Because he's 81.
You can find so much dirt on Biden. Like, he's accomplished nothing with all of his time that he's been running in the government or in the government functioning. There is a clip that I found some time ago and stuck in the middle days where he is chastising a reporter that dared to question him, and he outright lies. Very conveniently back in the time when we couldn't really fact check things the way we can now, talking about how he was at the top of his class in Harvard. He didn't go to Harvard. He apparently, I don't know if he went to an Ivy League school, so let me stop short of saying he didn't go to one, but he was not top of his class. He did quite shitty, and like all the facts that are available, right back to the video where he schooled that reporter that dared to say one thing that was true that was negative about Biden, and everybody in the room while he was governor gave him a standing ovation. If only they knew it was bullshit.
I've met some incredibly. Look, Rupert Murdoch's in his 90s. He still has vim and vigor and is sharp as a tack. Dame Joan Collins at the Emmys is a very good friend of mine, right? Look how fantastic she looks. She's 90, right? She's 9 years older than Biden, but has 10 times the energy. It's not about his age. Trump's nearly 78. It's not about him being 81. Mick Jagger. I met Mick Jagger at the cricket. You big cricket fans, you guys?
Not too much.
I met Mick Jagger at a big England cricket match in the summer. And he just turned 80.
Am I about to
and I went,
skip,
look at you comparing to Joe
cricket?
Biden. We were laughing. I said, you should be president of the United States if you're American, because it's not about age. Jagger's only a few months younger than Biden. It's about, unfortunately,
vigor.
It's about senility. It's about probably a slow dementia. It's about his inability to stay on 2 feet, his constant vocal gaffes, and so on and so on. It's sad. I don't think anyone feels good about watching Joe Biden kind of physically disintegrating in front of our eyes. But he's still 9 months away from a general election, and then expects us to think he can lead this amazing, huge superpower for another 4 years. He can't. And you can't go to Kamala Harris. She's been a total disaster. So
I'm almost tempted in real time to search for a video that I recently discovered where Biden absolutely made a complete fool of himself and absolutely 100% insults a veteran that had parts of his body completely blown off, and they try to make a big PR stunt out of it in the hospital. He only succeeded in pissing off the veteran and the mother who was there. Perhaps we'll see how this goes. I do have another clip that is really refreshing, and it's bittersweet as well, though.
Democrats, if they're not,
I think she scares people more than I think if he had. And that's just where racism and sexism comes into play. I think if he has a white male vice president, I don't think people are as afraid to vote for Biden.
You know what? I honestly don't think it has anything to do with Kamala's race or gender.
Oh, thank you. She's a shitty person. Yes,
sometimes you just have to call what you see.
I mean, most vice presidents are useless.
She didn't look into a single complaint against one of her officers.
It's not a great job.
Before
she was a VP. You just take all the flak. She's been especially ineffective. Let's put it like that, right? I met her actually once. I thought she was very charming.
Oh God, he's a name dropper. That's for sure.
She's a bright woman. She's just been incredibly
useless.
Her poll numbers are
say useless.
So the pair of them.
I think she's been ineffective because of, to go back to the fact, her race and her gender. I think that allows her to say and do things that other VPs probably couldn't.
I don't care.
And within 6 weeks, it's all over. Right here, it basically starts the moment one's ended, and then it really starts at the start of election year for 11 or 10 months. Right? I find the whole process, apart from anything else, you really get to understand what these candidates are about. There's no escape. In Britain, you could actually become a leader of a country like Britain.
Don't care.
European countries, it's at least
I want
double
the part that I saw.
Right? So you have
I just didn't want to use another channel's, clip and commentary.
Work harder. You're more competitive. You're more successful as a nation than anyone in history. I love all that. That plays to all my. I like to think I have a strong work ethic. I'm very competitive. I like to win in the biggest possible marketplace. That's America. And I love my own country too, of course. But I love that about America. And you lose that at your peril, and it's this whole issue about democracy in America, incredibly important to preserve the safeguards of your democratic process. When I watched that January 6th.
That's why you can't vote Trump back in.
Well, it's interesting.
Okay.
It'd be interesting.
I'm just gonna let it ride. Sure.
The one thing I thought was interesting was at the end of his acceptance speech at Iowa, he suddenly sounded very conciliatory and inclusive for the first time. And I go back to the guy I saw across the boardroom on The Apprentice. It may sound trite to do that, but you got to remember, for most nights, for 3 hours, I watched this guy interacting with people. He was a very different person, very different, much more charming, much more, towards the female contestants, towards people who'd had a hard time, much more empathetic. We didn't get.
That's actually a very interesting observation. Is it possible that all of the controversies and, grab him by the what made him more cold to women? Like, just, wondering now. I mean, the media did no shortage of reporting on what a absolute monster of a chauvinist he was, whatever.
Yeah,
And we got, Sniffy Joe, Sleepy Joe. Sure, he's much better. We're gonna vote him in.
Brash, often quite boorish guy that you see a lot of when he was president. I think if you want to understand why Trump became like that when he became president, go and read his book, The Art of the Deal, which I read.
Okay.
Real estate in New York, where bullshitting is an art form. Right?
I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to find the specific part. Otherwise, I'm gonna happily move on. But this whole thing, I recommend it. Shout out, fair use, blah blah blah. Breakfast Club. Watch this. It is informative and it gives a point by point example, like a list of why I do in fact think Trump is going to win, unless the DNC picks somebody, like, I don't know, a rabbit out of a hat, somebody polished, younger. They can't be too worried about race and gender, and I'm gonna say it, a little less progressive, because we're in a point in our country where common sense stuff has come back to the forefront. So, yeah, that's the way I see it, and I don't think the DNC is willing to concede. They got too much ego. Let me check what this is, and then I'm bouncing up to the next clip, which is wholesome.
Reported way more pro rata than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in America?
Oh, I'm so glad I got this. I'm so glad. Thank goodness. Thank you, podcast gods. Thank you.
What went on with January? I bet he does, right? Knowing Trump, I bet he does. They'll never admit it, but I bet he does. Would he pivot to a more inclusive president second time round? Has he learned lessons? I don't know the answers to those questions. I know that his style enrages a lot of people, but it also delights a lot of people.
Piers, I know that's your guy, but I don't believe none of the bullshit that's coming out of his mouth. And,
well, what have I?
What a contribution that was, Charlemagne. Please keep them coming.
Said that's wrong.
As far as what?
As far as Trump, my reading of it.
Well, even if you talk about what he would do in regards to Russia and Ukraine, I personally think if Trump gets back into the White House in 2024, he would turn his back and let Russia do whatever they want.
Maybe
to Ukraine.
But if you judge him on what he actually, I think if you actually judge his foreign policy and what he did as president, there's no sign of that.
To me, none of that, all of that failed in comparison to how he does not give a damn about American democracy.
I agree.
When you got a guy literally saying, let's get rid of the Constitution to overturn the results of an election.
I agree.
I'm not like, no.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not.
I agree.
And there's he's the guy who says America first.
And there's a very good argument that someone who does that should not be allowed to run again.
Absolutely.
However, your Constitution makes it crystal clear that he can run again. And in fact, even
not the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment said if you tried to lead a coup of this country, you are ineligible to be president. Let
me tell you what's going to happen. The
states tried to prove that, failed.
It'll go to the Supreme Court and they're going to throw it out.
You know
almost why? There, I promise.
Because you got Republican judges.
Yes, that he put in place. Come on,
but you know why?
Cut it out.
You know why he was able to? Because he was elected your president in 2016.
You're right.
So if Americans didn't want Trump as president, don't vote for him. And the same applies now. Don't vote for the guy, because you know what? If he can pack the Supreme Court with more Republican judges next time around, that's exactly what he'll do. Know what? As the Democrats will do as well.
No, Democrats won't do because they don't have the courage to do that. They could have done things like that. Even when Barack Obama could have implemented Merrick Garland, he chose to follow the rules of democracy because Mitch McConnell told him, hey, it's too late in your presidency to implement
that was a tactical error.
Yes, because when Trump got the chance to do it, he did it.
But let me ask you.
And Mitch McConnell didn't encourage it.
You mentioned Obama. So this is an interesting little question I always throw people. Interesting if you guys know the answer. How many illegal immigrants, did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president?
This is one of those situations where knowing your facts, doing your absolute best in terms of research would come in handy when you have a guest that would be so well versed in this kind of information, because this example, this embodiment right here, Charlemagne right now is making every Democrat look stupid, ignorant, and bad with how he answers all of these questions. Let's have fun.
I don't know.
Have a guess.
I don't know.
No clue. Interesting, right? You don't know.
I mean, I know it was a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know.
Give me a number.
I actually have read that it's more than Trump.
Give me a number.
I really don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
8 years. 8 years. How many?
I don't know.
How many people did he physically have deported in 8 years?
I have no idea.
Well, give me a number. You don't want it, do you?
Million.
No, I really don't know. I really
have
don't know
no
even where to
clue.
begin. I don't know if it's tens of thousands, millions. I don't know
I'm
where
sure
to begin.
millions.
But I've read that it was more
The
than
answer
Trump.
is over 3 million. He
Damn.
was known as deporter in chief by Mexicans.
Yes, and
Right.
that was more than Trump.
He
did.
deported way more than
Yeah,
Trump.
I
He
read that.
deported way more pro rata than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in American history?
Oh, come on, President Barack Obama.
Barack Obama,
yeah, I
right?
know.
Including drone programs.
That's your
and stuff,
guy.
right? Who got elected in 08, 09 on shutting down Guantanamo Bay? Because as a former lawyer, he believed it was an illegal institution.
President
Barack
Barack
Obama.
Obama, yeah.
What is still open today?
Guantanamo Bay.
Correct, right? Etc., etc., etc. So I know that the
Well, he
general
was useless,
thing is
basically.
Obama angel, Trump devil.
Right.
But if you actually apply the scrutiny that we give
Hot take. Obama's presidency was just as useful as Kamala Harris's being the VP.
Trump, put it this way: if Trump had deported 3 million people, you think you guys wouldn't know that answer? Of course you would, right? Nobody knows that answer. Because
Swallow that.
nobody thought that way about Saint Barack. And I think that he wasn't Saint Barack, and Trump isn't the devil. Trump has a more devilish way of talking, and he has to be held absolutely to account. And it's a
Mean tweets and rude speaks. Oh, the country was so dire back then, right? And look at us now. Funding the Ukraine and Israel without any regard for us, really.
very good argument to say after what happened on January the 6th, he shouldn't be allowed to run again, but he is allowed to run again. And in fact, he can be convicted of a crime before the election and still be allowed to run as president.
That's insanity.
Let me clarify, I do not believe that we shouldn't fund Israel. I do believe that we're funding it too much, though. Far too much money when we're suffering.
And he could actually go to prison and still be president of the United States constitutionally from a prison cell.
Mhm.
So this is not my constitution. These aren't my rules. This is the reality. So I'm not sitting here saying for Trump. I'm not defending Trump, I think, irrationally. I'm simply presenting a slightly fairer argument about why Trump is now back in the position he's in and why he could win again than some people want to present because they think it doesn't suit them politically to say that.
How
Yeah.
often do you speak to Trump?
I haven't spoken to him since we fell out over the last interview. But I'm sure I
Okay, interesting. That's about what I wanted to share there. Let me check up on y'all. Let me see. Yeah. Hey, Joy, White Dragon. Hello, everybody. Hey, Crystal, H squared. Is my boy Rob here? Stay on tracks. I can't help it. Biden is more than an asshat. Let me share this next thing. Well, first off, okay, let me go right. Let me get this right. Okay, right here first. Okay, I did say I was going to talk about independent music. Now TMZ did this, like, I don't know, semi-quasi hit piece. Right now, that song, Facts with Ben Shapiro and Tom MacDonald, is charting at number 2, above Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, and Nicki Minaj. Tom MacDonald, independent artist. What? So I want honesty from any of the people that are left over from the Creek Squad days. In all sincerity, what you see your boy doing now, okay, the videos and all that, I respect anybody that's wanting to express how they feel. I think he needs to write a book or do a documentary. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the guy, so I don't know how he feels about his music. But why do you personally think he has taken to using YouTube to attacking Tom MacDonald? Like, what? Where does that benefit him? I went to a live chat where Tom MacDonald was just doing his thing, and the mods in that chat were deleting anybody that said Upchurch's name, good, bad, ugly, any of the Creek squatters that were going Upchurch with exclamation points. I think that just shows Tom's doing his own thing. He's on his own level, and people are like heavily criticizing. I love how TMZ only shows the negative tweets, twats, whatever. Ben Shapiro with the worst verse of all time, contender. Can only Ben Shapiro can make rap totally uncool. Has anything ever been more cringe than this? Finally found a song that Weird Al couldn't make it, like, you know. So the bias when the mainstream goes after anything in mass, especially an independent artist. I mean, I think I will speculate there's some form of agenda because they don't like what he has to say. Period. And I'm glad he stays independent. Period. Let me see. Oh, do I not have it opened, or do I have to go to my little Facebook? I'll make brief. I wanted to showcase this. I know this looks very, very old, and it is. But to me, this is a blast from the past. It shows me, hey, bass girl, so good to see you. Michelle B, welcome, guys. The footage that you're about to see is children from way back when that I think are 100%, 110 times more intelligent than your average American adult. I think they're also 120 times more intelligent than current presidential candidates. I think collectively they're smarter than our entire government. Okay, so and this showcases how absolutely terrible and harmful the woke movement is, because the conversation that was held in 1956 that I'm about to play some clips of would not be allowed to happen today because it would be deemed too offensive. So we have unanimously agreed, without even having a vote, that we can't have conversations of substance because somebody somewhere might get offended or something. You know, it's so pathetic. So pathetic.
Ratnahi Iskandardinata, high school student, 17 years old, and also a talented dancer from Indonesia. From Japan, Yoriko Konishi, whose lovely voice you've just heard. From time to time, we like to get a sense of what we do in all those times we
Indonesia,
people. You say a feeling of hate. Do
Philippines.
you think prejudice is as strong as hate?
Yes. Oh, when there's somebody, if he has a prejudice, then there.
I would beg this. I mean, this is a pipe dream. Any powers that be, please bring something like this back to the TVs. Bring it back. Like, I mean, why have we found ourselves reliant on podcasts? And I guess independent individuals are going to be the ones that have to have the loudest voice. This needs to be a publicly funded thing. This could do worlds of greatness for our very confused children of America, where, what is it, 30% of the current generation are uncertain of their own genders and changing it. 30%, man. It's insanity. And it just, it keeps going up. Prior to that, it was like 10%. Prior to that, it was like 5%. And I'm not saying, that's the only issue, but that's indicative of a lot of confusion. And I watched something about the books that are in there and available. The argument was, oh, but it's only 25 books. There shouldn't be a single book available to a middle schooler about a strap-on, okay? All right.
I hate such and such.
Well, I suppose that is true. What do you think prejudice is, Eureka?
Well, I found that if somebody distinguishes between two white men, it is not prejudice. But if somebody distinguishes between a white man and a colored man, it is prejudice.
I would define prejudice as a rigid opinion formed about a certain thing before there has been a just examination of the facts.
When a person loses track of the dignity of the human soul and begins to judge others not on the basis of their being persons, but on the basis of race, creed, economic status, that is prejudice.
Well, is it fair to ask you whether you have any prejudice?
And, talk about progression. This is a Japanese woman, 1956, okay? World War II wasn't that long ago at this time. This was like courageous. This is amazing. You can't find this kind of thing. Sesame Street this day and age, a joke. A joke.
Well, I guess so, Mrs. Waller. And being brutally frank, I am prejudiced against Japanese.
Did he just say that in front of the person he's prejudiced against? Oh my god. This day and age, there'd be hecklers, BLM, and every other alphabet community would be up in arms. Somebody'd be sued and drawn and quartered and maybe crucified.
Well, not to the extent that I hate them. No, not that way. But I got this, well, as a result of World War II. Because, well, I guess I was yet too young to understand what happened during those times. But I think that what my relatives and friends and the people who were witness to that unfaithful occasion, well, they just more than justify the fact. And I think it's justified for me to feel the same way because, well, I know that my people suffered very much under that rule.
You still as prejudiced against the Japanese as you were?
Well, 5 years ago, that prejudice of mine was, well, slightly fading away. But when Japan stubbornly refused to pay reparations to us, well, the prejudice began to brew.
It's absolutely impressive. I don't know if I should say depressing or kind of astounding how relevant some of the same topics always remain throughout all of our lifetimes.
True again. But now I found out from close contact with Yoriko and other Japanese that Japan isn't ready to pay reparations yet, because as Yoriko said, some of them and most of them even have to suffer the cold in the classrooms because they can't afford to heat the schools.
Eureka, you've got any prejudices?
Well, I don't have any prejudice for Philippines, but many Japanese people hate Korea because the president of Korea made the line his own line on the public sea between Korea and Japan.
Well, let's also remember Japan really screwed over Korea, but go on.
And if the Japanese fishermen go over the line, they are caught by Korean people and they can't go home for a while. And we are trying to be friends for Korea.
Now that we've started, we better go on around the circle. Judith, you got any prejudices that you admit?
Yes, I suppose I better.
This is amusing. This is another example of how astounding it is that topics, no matter how far away from us that they are in present, are still relevant. This is going to be not a throwback, but a throw forward to South Park.
Admit them, although I'm English. I have some very foolish prejudices. You'll probably laugh. For instance, as soon as I meet a person with red hair, I always put myself on my guard because I have a silly prejudice that all red-headed people have
No souls. Gingers, no souls. We all know this. Tried, true. History proves it. Move on.
terrible tempers, that they're as passionate as the color of their hair. Oh, and then I have another silly prejudice. For example, when I first met the Australian delegate, Elizabeth Woodgate, who hasn't been on television, I was shocked by her accent because to me it sounds just like a Cockney accent would in England. And I hope I'm not conceited or anything, but a Cockney accent.
Remember, these are kids, man. Tell me the last time you heard any kids out and about wherever you're at, or even at a school where education is supposed to be the focal point of the day, where you've heard children this eloquent, poised, compassionate, civil. Now we got, TikTok, and people care more about their standing on social media. Oh my God, is this person talking about me? How many clicks and this, that, and the other? Oh dear Lord. And then you have this, like the true engagement, really being connected. I want to see a return to this, and I hope one day the internet can be reconfigured in a way that it brings us back together without making it so hard to find that connection. Because I really and truly believe, as I've expressed many times, the oversaturation of connectivity has made it so much harder. People, like the younger generation, it seems to be forgetting how to connect. And it's depressing, frankly.
Accent in England, most English people would shudder a little bit when they hear it. But she very frankly told me that she shuddered when she heard my accent. So I got paid back for that too.
Why did she say she did?
Oh, I think she imagines that she said she really had to forget my accent in order to like me. because it was too formal. I gather most Americans think about that about the English as well. So.
Ratnati, it's your turn.
Well, sometimes I find prejudice against the Dutch people when in school when I learn the history and learn how the Dutch people treated Indonesian. And I have some other prejudices of my own. That's I hate people who are proud and who feel that he is the master of the other people and who thinks that he knows everything than anybody else.
Let's come back to you a minute, Ralph. Are there any prejudices in the Philippines between groups of people?
Yes, there are existing prejudices between groups of people. As a matter of fact, most of us still, well, are prejudiced against a group of hybrids, those who have more Spanish blood than Filipino blood in them. And
Ooh, this kid's going hard. And the woman, the child from the UK, she's going to trigger this kid. But they're gonna have a nice, calm, quasi debate, somewhat of a debate. And I think they both walk away wiser from it.
we term them as mestizos. Well, these incidents usually occur in the schools. As you know, I'm in a school run by Spanish monks, and we have a lot of we have a lot of those of that group studying in our
¿Qué pasa,
school.
vato? Huh?
And usually they are favored, but we think we think that we are right in saying that they are sort of aristocratic, conceited, and high-headed, and sore-headed, and all sorts of adjectives. And they have the foolish idea that they have the royal blood or royalty in them.
The kid just described me to a T. I told y'all from day one, Jubian prince over here, Colombian Jew, and yes, that makes me royalty. I'm a little triggered that he was so on point. Didn't expect to hear that out loud. Quite offended. I'm gonna find his ancestors, his children's children, and begin a lawsuit. If any Hispanic members are watching Replay Crew or current and you'd like to join me in this lawsuit, just let me know. Or let me do it the Bonnie way. Start suing this person somehow, or get out of my chat and send me money, or leave. Unless you're a foreigner. But wait, I need foreigners. Oh, screw it.
Well, how do you get along with these boys in school, Ralph? Are there any problems?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't get along with them.
Actions, not distractions, by the way. You didn't invent game streaming. I just had to say that. You said I did like 3 lives about you. You're not that big of a deal, bud, but it's hilarious to me that you think I didn't think of streaming games until I saw you doing it with the phone or something. Bro, I bought 3 headsets. Okay, back to the topic. Just had to say that. How ridiculous, man. That's an ego beyond me. And, man, I thought I was the guy with the ego, right?
Pretty well. As a matter of fact, we usually fight with one another.
Is there any problem? Yes, Yoriko.
Yes, Japan have had many American or European soldiers after the war, and most of them married with Japanese girls, not only formal wedding, and they made children who called hybrids. And I think the hybrids have nothing to be punished, but some grown-ups uh, didn't treat didn't used to treat as the Japanese children, and grown-ups also used to treat the mothers of children. No, Japanese people thought that the mothers of hybrids are not good; they are horrible because they married with foreign people, foreign boys, and many Japanese people don't like to marry with foreign people because they have
It's a stigma still held to this day, but slowly dying.
they live in different um, customs and they consider with different way.
You still have a strong, may I say, prejudice in Japan against marrying people from other countries, don't you?
Well, yes. Eureka, yeah.
Here we go. So the kind-hearted, well-meaning UK chick is about to open up a can.
Could you tell us something about the status of women in Japan? We hear the strangest things, and
Now with
you've been
this,
telling me the strangest things. Could you tell us more
Well,
about it?
Before the war?
Yes, and now. Or before.
Well, up to about 60 years ago, Japanese people thought that the white people are horrible because they are almost red hairs and everything is so big and about the bodies.
oh, you know, if that were said like this day and age, this year, the audience would be having a giggle fit. Let's now commence with the giggle fit.
Quite a few people still think so. And in Japan, we think that something to be beautiful must be small and delicate.
You could hardly apply the word delicate to some of the big soldiers we sent to Japan, could you? But I never knew that you looked down on us because we were big. That's very interesting.
We're always proud of if the Western men are tall and handsome. We consider that yes.
Well, we're proud to be small and delicate.
What you said about skin color, Eureka, I've heard that the Chinese speak about us as pink people instead of white people. It's so much more difficult to be proud of being a pink person, isn't it?
Oh, yes, you're a pink person.
Might as well face it, Judith. Here we are.
I feel scarlet.
Ratnati, let's get. Yes?
Judith, since Philippines has so many colonies and well, let's say nearly all and all over the world, how do you feel towards the people in the colonies? Do you have some prejudice?
No, I personally don't have any prejudice. At least I hope I don't. But I know that a lot of Europeans think of the Asians, for example, as rather lazy. I don't mean to be rude, but that used to be the impression we had. You know,
the Philippines are about to get pissed off.
when we started our colonization, we thought we were doing good to you. I know that you disliked, for example, in Indonesia, you disliked the Dutch there. But they probably thought they...
Imagine hearing that sentence in a university presently. Anybody up on a stage. We thought the colonization was doing fantastic things. We thought we were helping. Oh, I could see Antifa and the liberals all going, "What? Where's Liberal Larry? Did I just summon him?" If you're in the chat, Liberal Larry, God, I can't even say your name properly. I'm just going to call you Lib Man. This is for you.
They were helping you.
They were not helping us. See, you mentioned that we're lazy. We're not exactly lazy, but they didn't give us a chance, see? And we didn't get experiments to build our country.
Well, Judy, I don't think all Asians are lazy.
No, please, you're misunderstanding me. I said that was a general opinion. Maybe not now. I hope certainly not.
General opinion, but when it's not, it's sort of wrong to say that they are lazy. Let's just say that they've got the very flat feet that they can't lift them up. Because you've got to consider, for example, the climate in most of the regions in Asia. Well, it's just but natural. You can't just work with all the warm climate around you. Of course, you'd always feel like fanning yourself, or going to an air-conditioned theater or something else where it's cold.
Is there not only this difference of climate that explains a difference in tempo, but is there a difference in philosophy too that perhaps we in the West haven't appreciated? I wonder.
Well, as far as I know it, and I think you've mentioned it in this program, that Indians think that they should never soil their hands. And in the Philippines, I must admit that, well, we're sort of inclined to get white-collar jobs and swivel chairs. Most of us do, especially the new college graduates. We don't want to work with our hands. We want to have, big bosses and with pretty secretaries around us. That's the common tendency.
Rock on, my brother. Rock on. Okay. So that I wanted to play, and I got one more, I promise. This one is the briefest of brief. I just thank you for getting the humor. This apparently happened near my uncle, who is a cancer survivor, and it's a frightening bit of footage, so I suppose it would be Only fair. Let me block this real quick. Give me a moment. Only fair to give kind of a possible trigger warning. It's not grotesque or gory, but it could be a little bit intense, if you're not prepared. Oh, and I can't wait to watch the rest of that. It wasn't that refreshing seeing young minds coming together about really complex issues and being able to successfully have a civil conversation and exchange of ideas. It's, I'd say it reawakens my heart, but that was from 1956. Couldn't find anything more progressive this day and age. All right, I got the footage I want to play. Good thing this ain't monetized, because YouTube would not be about it. And away we go. No. Here we go. All right.
Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri, 911! I got it! Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri!
Homeboy is getting shanked and just screaming for Siri to call 911. This neighborhood looks like the one my uncle lives in. My father told me to... Oh my God. I see a name on there. Why is... Okay, anyway.
911! Hey Siri, 911!
A violent robbery of a New Jersey mail carrier was captured on video. Two men are seen pushing the
Oh my God, this is my uncle's footage. That's right. He submitted this.
mail carrier onto the lawn. This happened in Millburn earlier this month. Police say the two have been following the carrier on his route along Walnut
This is my uncle's freaking front yard, dude.
Avenue. Among the items stolen was a skeleton key, which opens mailboxes inside apartment buildings. Neighbors say the attack went down in a matter of seconds.
I learned to find out that
That's my uncle. That's my uncle. My dad didn't tell me, or he survived lung cancer. He's doing so amazing. I miss him so much. I'm so proud of him. That's my uncle on the news.
he was screaming, Siri, call 911. He had an iWatch on, I guess, and he was yelling, Siri, 911. He yelled it 5 times. I guess it wasn't working.
Well, suspects were seen leaving the scene in a silver Mercedes sedan. The postal worker suffered some minor injuries.
Sorry. Whoa, man. Whoa. I'm.
Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri, 911!
I was, as a child, I would play with my cousins in that front yard. Horrifying to know this happened there.
Siri, 911! I got it! Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri, 911! Hey Siri, 911!
A violent robbery of a New Jersey mail carrier was captured on video. Two men are seen pushing the mail carrier onto the lawn. This happened in Millburn earlier this month. Police say the two have been following the carrier on his route along Walnut Avenue. Among the items stolen was a skeleton key, which opens mailboxes inside apartment buildings. Neighbors say the attack went down in a matter of seconds.
I learned to...
Oh my God. I've been such a terrible nephew, man. I mean, I love him so much.
Find out that he was screaming, Siri, call 911. He had an iWatch on, I guess, and he was yelling, Siri, 911. He yelled it 5 times. I guess it wasn't working.
Well, suspects were seen leaving the...
Sorry, I had to watch that again. That just blew my mind. Blew my mind. I'm gonna call him tomorrow. I have off. Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm good. That was absolutely far out. Guys, I'm gonna thank you. I really, truly, I hope it doesn't say. You know what? I'm sure it does. Let me just be completely 100. Everybody must be tired of hearing me saying I got this plan, that plan, and the other plan, and procrastination, not delivering. I did message somebody who we all may be familiar with, was once a huge supporter and is not, because I had to get a lot off of my chest and accept things that I feel I absolutely did wrong. The clarity that I have after being 45 days. Rob, I know you're always watching for every detail. I got my best friends ready to join the podcast, and I got the open panel for anxiety that everybody is more than welcome to join and hop up. So please remember that. Feel free to share these little lives or any lives of mine that you enjoy, or any short clips. And more than anything, please do feel free to smash the like button if you did enjoy it. Hit the thumbs down button if you didn't. And with that, I wish everybody all the love, peace, and respect that we can all muster in the world. Thank you for being on the journey. And that's all I got. Good night.